Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly, back to do another quick video here. Actually, just kind of an update on a concert I went and saw last night. I kind of mentioned before that there was a concert I was going to see, but thought I would kind of hold off on kind of saying who it was until I actually went and saw him and all of that. There's actually another one coming up in a month or two, which is I'm also pretty darn excited about. Probably more excited about than this one, but I was pretty freaking pumped up about going to see this show as well. But I got a chance to see these guys last night, and just thought I would, just kind of do a quick little recap of the concert and share with you some of the stuff that I picked up at the concert. Let's just kind of start with the group that opened for this particular group. So this was the opening band that I had never heard of before. It's actually what you're listening to in the background. And the name of the group is Pallbearer, and it's Sorrow and Extinction. I believe this is their first album there. Never heard of them before, but was really impressed with them when they got on stage. Definitely kind of a very sludge metal, if you can hear that in the background, a very sludgy type metal with, but with very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not melodic, but very harmonious vocals, which was kind of neat. And they do a really good combination of those two. So yeah, definitely a band you want to check out. I mean, I'll probably actually be seeing this record sometime in Album of the Week. I listened to one record last night, didn't get to the second one, but the one I heard, I was just like, this is good stuff. But of course, I was fortunate enough, I know it's not showing up that well, I guess it's a little too dark getting close, but to get all 4 signatures. I had a chance to meet those guys after the concert, which is very cool. I'm telling you, it's like being a VIP going to this place up here, because I get to meet almost every single band that comes through there, which is awesome. So that's Pallbearer. And then the band that I went to see, which, I bought this ticket months ago. Keep in mind, the ticket was only $12, $14. It was $14, and I mean, you guys heard me keep ranting and raving about this place because they bring in all these awesome bands, and I've never paid more than $20 for a ticket there. That's where I saw Graveyard, that's where I saw the Melvins, that's where I saw Kitty and got to meet all of them. And then last night I had the great pleasure of seeing and meeting Boris last night, which was absolutely fantastic. Everything I thought it would be and then some. So, yeah, I guess I'll kind of talk about the show here in a second, but yeah, obviously I got a chance to meet them. The first thing I was going to do is get their autographs. So, as you can see there, got it signed by all 3, which is really cool. I think the first one I met was, without looking exactly at the name, I'll make sure I pronounce it right. I think it's Takeshi, I believe is his name. That's the bass guitar player, which I guess he also kind of plays lead sometimes with that double axe that he has. He also does a lot of the vocals. But, I mean, just you talk about just such a laid back kind of guy. One of those cool kind of guys where, when I first saw him, it's always hard when you see pictures and everything's all Photoshop, people are made up, and you see him in real life. And so I'm thinking, well, anyway, I'm standing there by the sound check booth or whatever, and I see this guy come walking by, a little guy, and on top of that, come walking by, and then just like stands almost right there beside me. And this is like before even the Pallbearer went on. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, is that him? And then in my mind, I'm kind of saying, no, that can't be him, because why would he just be like standing like right here out in the middle of everything, just holding the beer or whatever else? And so I was, it just didn't seem like, okay, that's what the lead guitarist of Boris would be doing before the show. And then he goes back and he stands by the booth where they're selling t-shirts. He's just like sitting in a stool, just like sitting back, holding the beard. And I'm like, well, nobody's really paying attention to him, so maybe that's not him. Maybe that's just, another Asian guy that likes metal that happens to have longer hair, And so I asked the guy standing next to him, I was like, is that Takeshi from Boris over there? He's like, yeah, I think that's him. I'm like, holy cow. And so I walk over to him, and I just kind of, ask him, like, hey, love you guys. would you mind signing him? He's like, oh yeah, love to. And so I, just started pulling out all my stuff, and he started signing it. And I don't know, it's just a really cool experience when you see how laid back he is, especially when you see him on stage and you wonder like where all that beast comes from. But yeah, so he signed it, and then he took it backstage and got the other two to sign it as well, including is it Wata? I keep forgetting. I have to actually look at the correct spelling. But she signed all of them as well, which is really cool. So yeah, that was an awesome experience. He's a really great guy, and even after he brought them all back, and I was, like my hands were full because I had, the records and then the T-shirt and all that other stuff, and I was getting ready to walk off, and he just like reaches out and grabs my arm, and I turn back around, and he sticks out his hand. He's like, oh, "Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much." I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Because most people you meet, especially when you're talking about, rock and roll guys, there's a lot of them that appreciate you, coming and being a fan and all of that. But it's kind of like, signature, sure thing, welcome, talk to you later, and they kind of take off. And he was just like, like really wanted to shake my hand before I walked away, to where I had to like adjust some stuff and set some stuff down just to get a hand free to shake his hand. So, great experience. I have a lot of respect for people that appreciate their fans like that. But so anyway, got that one signed there. And then my favorite one, this is the one album cover, I think I always said was just begging for a signature, which was very cool to get. And of course, this is Heavy Rocks. And again, signatures on by all three there. And then Smile. Again, probably not show up as well the way the lighting is on this camera right here, but as you can see, again, all three signatures there. And last but not least, I got autographs on Son, Owen, Boris. And this one was really cool too, because I didn't even realize they did this until last night. So they signed the cover there, obviously, which I took silver and black pens to make sure I had the right pen for the right one. And then I didn't even know until last night after I got home that they actually, because the guy took this one in back to get this one signed by the other two. So they actually signed inside. Let's see. Yeah. So they signed on the outside of the cover, and then they also, all three went inside. Yeah, there's one toe right there. So that was really, really cool as well. So yeah, I mean, overall, just a, absolute great night. I mean, so yeah, awesome to have all of those signed. So a few of those are going up on the wall this evening. Concert itself, the band I was just telling you about, Pallbearer, which was this one here. That's what you hear playing in the background right now. Again, really, really good sludge metal type group, but they have a great harmonious vocalist that kind of soars over the top of it all. And again, I mean, at some point in time, I guarantee when I get done really taking this album in, this is going to be one of my albums of the week. So if you haven't heard them, make sure you check it out. Especially the song The Legend. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. Boris. I went to a different place with them last night. Obviously I've listened to their stuff and always thought of them as kind of, metal, sludge, a little creative, but just kind of, doing their own unique thing and just kind of, pounding you in the face type stuff. Even though they do have some slower, melodic type stuff. But perception totally changed when I saw them last night. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still very hardcore and in your face. But I really, really got the sense and impression that they are much more of a heavy metal version of Pink Floyd. I don't think I really appreciated their creativity through simplicity as I did last night when I was especially watching Wata. Again, I'm sorry butchering her name, but watching her play. Not very complex guitar, progressions and things of that nature. But, you know, very simple kind of thing she was doing, but the way she was working the pedals, and she had a massive pedal system. I mean, the pedals were almost like a second instrument for her. She was all over the place, and watching her, you know, work the wah and just, I mean, going left and right, it was really, really impressive, actually. And it's also kind of neat. She's such a tiny little girl. I mean, even the Les Paul she had, like that Gibson Les Paul, looked like almost twice as big as her. It was so funny, but she was killing it. But yeah, again, just I never really took in the simplicity yet such the great creativity that Boris had until you actually see him perform it live, and it really was just kind of a heavy metal version of a Pink Floyd. That's really kind of the best way to put it. So I was very, very impressed by that. Yeah, but I mean, again, most of you probably know Boris pretty well, so I don't have to get into too much detail about, you know, all the other stuff. It was just awesome group to see live. They definitely bring a lot more to the table and stuff you'll never catch just by listening to them, you know, on vinyl or on CD or whatever. The other thing I thought, you know, and again, I'm sharing all these thoughts took place while I was actually at the concert. That's typically what I do, is I have all these thoughts pop in my mind during the show, and I think, I'm going to go back and tell the VC, you know, that type of thing. But the other thought that kind of came to mind, which is really cool, I think it's kind of another testament to the VC, is that, you know, Dan from Canada, who's really not he's not in the VC anymore. I think he shut down his channel and all of that. But for me, he was actually one of the founders of the VC. I think Dan was, and I'll kind of maybe tell that story some other time of why I think he was. But he's also just kind of the guy that knew so much, especially about all the underground and alternative and indie stuff. He was just like the king of that, and he was the one that introduced me to Boris. And you know, maybe not the past year and a half or 2 years, and those of you only been in the VC for a year or two, you probably never even heard of Dan. But prior to the past year or two, Boris was a huge thing in the VC. I mean, it was just one of the things that everyone was talking about and buying and on and on. And that's how Dan kind of turned me on to him. Well, you know, kind of in light of the buzz and the way that everyone was buying their stuff and talking about their stuff, you know, Boris was like a huge band in my mind. And so when I heard they were coming to town, you know, I went and bought my ticket so early, again, only being $14. I'm like, this thing is going to sell out so fast, it's going to be jam-packed, you better get there early and blah, blah, blah. And I got there and it was like, you know, by the time the show started, there were maybe 150 people there, you know, maybe 200 at the most. And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, you could easily walk in right when the show started and pretty much get within 10 feet of the stage if you wanted to. I mean, it was fantastic. But that's when it just kind of hit me too, when I had that thought when I got there, is just how it wasn't as packed as I thought it was going to be. Is that's kind of the other beauty, or I think one of the things we maybe take for granted a little bit in the VC, is that, you know, there's so many of us here who are just die-hard music fans, and we're talking about music so much, and we're sharing music so much, and we're just, you know, just back and forth all the time, communicating, interacting, talking about music. You know, you get bands like Graveyard and Boris and stuff like that, who through the VC and all the chatter and all the sharing and everything else have been blown up to be these huge bands in my mind. But then when you go out to the general public, you realize, holy cow, St. Louis, what do you think? It's like, this band is in town now, and what are you guys doing that you're not here? And you just kind of, you know, you just kind of start to realize, no, it's that big in my head, because that's just the level of the chatter and sharing that takes place in the VC. It makes you think the band is that big because everyone in the VC is talking about it. You know, everyone's talking about Graveyard. Everyone is, you know, going on about Boris and everything else, and you start to realize, no, it's just because we're really into the music scene and really know our stuff, and we're sharing all this stuff. And it just kind of one more thing that just made me think, you know, see, that's something else that's cool about the VC, is that it takes all this music and all this knowledge and stuff to the next level. But anyway, again, just kind of a thought that popped in my mind when I was there last night. But again, some great additions to the collection here, you know, and only costing $14 to get in to meet these guys and do all that stuff. That was absolutely great. So glad I got a chance to meet them. But anyway, that's just a little quick review. As always, thanks for watching, VC, and we will talk to you guys soon. All right, take care.